charge for the year. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everybody's listening.
I was almost asleep.
Okay, good. Here, you can throw this out. The Village of Hainesville regular board meeting will now come to order on Tuesday, September 27th, 2016 at 6:32 p.m. If everybody will please rise and I'll lead us in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Linda Soto,
Present.
trustees Jaranowski,
Here.
Georgianne Duberstein, here, Barrett,
Here.
Hein, here, Daly,
Here.
and George Duberstein.
Here.
Okay, the game's all here. We are in quorum. Can I have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Jaranowski,
Aye.
Georgianne Duberstein, Barrett,
Aye.
Hein, Daly,
Aye.
and George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, next up, we're going to have a presentation by Scott Termey with BKD of the annual financial report fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016. Scott, the podium's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to the entire board for having us back to conduct the audit again this year. Appreciate that. Certainly thanks to Kelly and her staff for all the preparation put into the audit. Things went very smoothly from our perspective. So if it's all right, I'll take a quick walk through some of the documents that you
Please.
were provided as part of the audit. As is customary, we did issue 2 documents as part of our audit. So the first is the bound set of the audited financial statements. And the second is a required communication that we have to make to you under our auditing standards. We typically refer to that as the management letter. I'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. But starting with the audit, the financial statements then, the first thing that I point out to you is that we have in here what we refer to as an unmodified or clean opinion on your financial statements, which is exactly what you want under the circumstances. That indicates that we were able to satisfy ourselves that everything was properly presented in terms of amounts and disclosures within your financial statements. And I'll pause there for a minute just to highlight one thing there. And just when you talk about an audit, just what does that really mean and what are we doing as part of the engagement? And that's really that as we go through and do our work, we're performing procedures to satisfy ourselves ultimately that there are no material misstatements within your financial statements. And the procedures that we perform are ultimately based on judgments that we make as we go through and look at your internal control structure, which is that whole system of checks and balances that you've put in place to make sure that things get recorded appropriately. So that one key concept is just that in terms of material misstatements. The other thing is just recognizing that an audit is providing you what we say is reasonable, but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are accurate. So what that means from a practical standpoint is we go through and we sample transactions. We're not looking at every transaction that occurred. You wouldn't want to pay us to do that, and it would be just completely inefficient. So we sample things, we look at the sample of transactions that we select, and then we form our opinion based on that. So it's not a 100% test, but we get ourselves comfortable that there are no material misstatements in this financial statement document.
Excuse me for just a minute. I know we're up here messing around. Mike, could you move the microphone to the side of the podium, please? Because it's not picking up.
Is yours working?
I can hold it as well.
Ted, is yours working?
Mine's working. I have new ones, so this.
Okay.
It definitely would be hard to hear on YouTube on the camera, I know.
Okay, so,
I can hear you now.
okay, so that's better.
And is this better?
Much better. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, is that better, Dave?
Oh, here.
Yeah, I think there's a remote.
Try it, go ahead.
So that's just the kind of the two key concepts there in terms of material misstatements and reasonable but not absolute assurance. We did highlight within the audit opinion that the village had to adopt a new accounting standard this year, which relates to the village's IMRF plan. This is a change in standards that all municipalities are working around. This is certainly a huge issue for governments as a whole, the pension funding concept itself. In your situation, it frankly had a little bit less impact on your financial statements than it has in other cases because of the size of your plan, the number of participants that are in IMRF now, and really your relative newness to the plan. But what happened as a result of this new standard is you have a liability relating to that IMRF plan hitting your balance sheet for the first time for the fiscal year ended 4/30/16. And that amounted to about $72,000, just so you're aware. It does also change some of the disclosures around that plan. So other than that, though, your financial statements essentially are in the same type of format as they were in the prior year. A couple of things of note as you look at the financial statements. I'll just call to your attention a couple of key numbers here, which are on page, beginning on page 16. And here we have a presentation of your governmental funds balance sheet, and I'll highlight within your general fund, the first column there. As you look at two key numbers there at the very top, and really almost the very bottom. The cash and investment position for the general fund is about $1.6 million at year end. And towards the very bottom is the fund balance position. Particularly the unassigned, because there are some restricted categories that do arise in the normal course of operations. The unassigned piece is what you have complete discretion over use on. So that is about $1.7 million at 4/30/16, and that represents about 11 months worth of annual expenditures. From a best practice perspective, there's a group called the Government Finance Officers Association. They suggest that within the general fund, you maintain no less than 2 months. So you're certainly in a very healthy position at almost 11 months of expenditures built up. So that's a very good spot for you to be in. I would also point out that the same type of information on page 21, which is the Public Works Fund. So there, the Public Works Fund has cash of about $570,000 and unrestricted net position towards the very bottom of $584,000. In this case, that's about 73% of the annual expenses of the fund. So again, a very healthy position for you to be in there. One other thing of note then would be to the back of the document, the very last schedule, which is page 60 and 61, has some comparative tax levy information. And this provides 10 years of data. And if you look at the pattern, you can see that that assessed valuation has dropped considerably over the 10-year period, and that's phenomenon that has certainly impacted municipalities throughout the state just because of the current economic environment. As a result of that, you do have your tax collections, which there's kind of two sections there, tax rates and tax extensions are presented.
Are you sure?
What page are you talking about?
61.
Page 60 and 61, it looks like this.
It's like the last.
The
page.
very last.
Yeah, the very
Schedule.
last pages.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you have, for 2015 tax levy, you collected about $439,000. If you look, that is a slight reduction over the most recent kind of 3-year window. So that pattern has played out in a number of municipalities, but I just call that to your attention that it is something that all governments are kind of struggling with, is that decreasing property tax base. And hopefully values will start to continue to trickle back up as we come around through the period that we have. But
Also of note on that page is the total tax rate. If you look at the past few years, we are actually have dropped the tax rate that our residents pay. Here.
Is there a question?
Okay. So then, that would be it on the financial statement document. The second document that you have is our required communication to you on the results of our audit. And what this does is ultimately it provides you with the information that as we go through and conduct our audit, if we had any significant difficulties or disagreements with management, we would bring those to your attention in this document. Happy to say we had no such instances like that. Everything went, again, very smoothly from our perspective. But also, as I alluded to at the beginning, when we go through and do our planning on the engagement and we look at your overall internal control structure, if we have any observations about any potential deficiencies within that structure, we call those to your attention here. And we do have a few comments that we have raised to the village's attention. The first one has to do with kind of a segregation of duties issue, where ideally you want to have people and duties segregated so that people who have access to cash don't actually also have recording responsibility. One of the situations that we pointed out was that the deputy clerk and the utility billing clerk have the ability to collect receipts, but also to make adjustments within the system. So that does provide some opportunity for the statements to occur. And I do understand that the village has taken some action already in response to that comment.
Yes, just to elaborate a little bit more, right now if there's an adjustment, really the only adjustments we have is into the utility billing when it affects an account of one of our residents. So if an adjustment is needed, our utility clerk gives me the proper documentation with notation of what happened, and this dates it, signs off, turns it to myself, and I'll review it and say yes or no, go for it, and I sign off on it, and then she then performs the adjustment to that. And then we're taking it another step further. I will be running a monthly report to match up any adjustments that happen in the systems to all the backup documents to make sure everything ties together.
So although we can't completely segregate it, because the two ladies all ladies handle the window, if they take cash in and they happen to be utility clerk or the assistant role.
Deputy clerk.
They have access to the computer system, so we're open with the double checking and the monthly report. We'll stay on top of it. We have not had a problem.
Now, actually, when this was brought to our attention, what I ended up doing was going back to January of this year and start the process that way. So we backed up, so we're all fully current for this year. So next fiscal year is fully all 12 months within plus extra.
And so our procedures will be that when we come in to do the audit again next year, if you so choose to have us back, we would go through and review the status of those comments and any action.
What I'd like to do is send it down to Springfield.
Sure. Yep.
We have some problems.
So that was the first comment. The second comment that we had relates to what we refer to as a fraud risk assessment process. And what we're getting at here is that you as a board rely on management to implement and carry out controls to make sure that things get recorded correctly. There's an inherent ability for management to override those controls. So periodically, from a best practice standpoint, what is suggested is that a group of both management and at least one member of the board get together, brainstorm about where there's possibilities for things to go wrong or misstatements to occur, and look at the controls that you have in place just to make sure that you have comfort that you're addressing whatever weaknesses may be there. That's generally done on ideally at least an annual basis, and you would certainly want to do that review if you have significant staffing changes that occur, just to revisit the current circumstances. The significance of having that board level involvement goes back to that potential for management override of controls. You want to have somebody with kind of that independent viewpoint and perspective there to address the potential for management override of controls. So that was the second suggestion and recommendation that we had. The last one was one from a IT policy standpoint. Recommendation would be that you adopt a formal IT security and disaster recovery plan. Ultimately, the significance there being with the increasing reliance on internal or information technology, all villages, municipalities, and really all businesses are getting to the point that it becomes a scenario of not if something's going to go wrong, but when it's going to happen, and what you're going to be doing to react to that when it happens. So you want to have that policy laid out so that when it does occur, you're able to react quickly and with a plan in place already. So that was the recommendation there. We do understand that the village is working already with an outside consultant, so there may be the ability to tap them for some input and ultimately to help you adopt that recommendation. But again, we will follow up on that and continue to report on the status of that. We definitely recognize that some of these policy issues will take time just because of the limited resources, so we try to be practical from that, but certainly significant to call it to your attention so that you're at least aware of the need for it. That's really it on the second document that I was going to call to your attention, but I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have on either the financial statements or that letter.
To reiterate a couple major points that Scott made.
Microphone.
Yes, it is. To reiterate a couple points is, we have one, at the end of past fiscal year, we have 1.7 million in the bank unrestricted. That's what we aimed for, roughly what we aimed for, and I'm proud that we've gotten there. Our tax income, and you've heard it all before, is going down. So once again, we have to try to do more with less. The audit showed no major misstatements, to use their term, or concerns with our operations and our financial statements. So, and that's been an ongoing trend with BKD and both our previous ones. Fiscally and financially, we run a good show. But like any business, the recommendations give us something new to look at, different ways to improve, and for the most part, we have been keeping up with the recommendations from the annual audit. And sometimes it's taken us a year or two to implement it, but we've gotten there. And it's a lot of work, but that's what we're here for. So, thank you.
I, number one, just want to thank the staff and the officials, particularly Jerry, who has really spearheaded some of the stuff and worked closely with the staff on some of these new policies. Between our new software and new policies, I just think that we have just catapulted forward and really not only have a sound village, but very safe in the technology world, and I feel good about where we're going. So, thank you.
Good, thank you again for having us.
Thank you for
Thanks, Scott. Have a good evening.
being here. Yes. And you're welcome to stay, but I certainly understand if you have to get home.
Thank you, appreciate that.
I already gave it to him, so you can go.
Have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll take public comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any takers? Did we fill out a green form? No takers. Okay, hold back that crowd. Okay. Can I have a motion for the omnibus vote agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgian Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
Daley.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, under reports and communications, we're going to jump all the way down to Public Works. Dr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric Christensen from Chris Electric did some work at well 1 for us. We had bad float that needed to be replaced along with some new wires that had to be pulled and installed. He ordered an extra float to have on hand just in case we need it in the future. All of our signs and supplies we use for our very successful Civil War event have been stored away until next year. I'd like to thank all my staff and Jimmy Soto for working that event. I'm looking forward to next year and making it bigger and better. We have started walking through the village, making an assessment of all our sidewalks that need replacing due to safety issues. We won't be able to replace everything that needs to be done, so we're evaluating them as we go. We're rating them on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the worst. And we will be fixing the worst sidewalks first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike?
Comment, I had reason to walk into the Public Works Garage late last week, early this week, and Mike has, and his crew, and possibly with George's input, has just done a great job of making that an organized place where people that work there know where items are. It's clean, it's neat, nice job, Mike. Thank you.
You're here.
Just a quick comment. In coming into the Tall Oak Drive today, I noticed that there's a tree that is bare from the top down, and I'm just wondering if there might be some other ash trees that, I know that we thought we had them all, but I'm just wondering if there might be some.
We don't have them all.
Oh, I thought we.
No, next year is year 5, the last year.
Okay,
So we have 1 more year to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
After next year, then they should all be gone.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to our police chief and deputy chief.
I've been off on vacation for the last little while. I
Good for you.
understand this. Good and bad. But I understand the Civil War event went very well, and Jeff coordinated that with our explorers and a couple of our officers who were also advisors. And it sounds like they did a real good job out there. I've also heard, well, I know that there was a fire on Tower. Again, it was pretty serious. Nobody was injured. But again, it appeared to be a garage or something that went up there in the front fascia of a couple of townhomes. So crime-wise, we've been pretty good. Been pretty slow here, which is always good news. And I'll be off next week. I'm getting a little, I blew up my knee, so I'm getting a little surgery. So Jeff will be the guy for probably the next week or so. And that's about all we got.
You'll be back for Halloween, of course.
Yes, sir.
I thought, you know, all the rampant crime that we have in the community on Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween's a good day here.
Before you go on to the next subject, I'd like to personally thank in public.
Microphone, George, I'm sorry.
I'd like to thank in public the chief, deputy chief, and all the folks who helped us out on the Civil War reenactment. They did a fine job and really kept us safe and kept things moving, so I appreciate your support.
Did the North win?
They won the first day, but the second day the South won.
We're on equal opportunity reenactors.
Okay, we'll move on to our treasurer, Kelly Hensley.
Okay, I have been able to start the preliminary work for paying our vendors via ACH transactions. That is, paying them electronically, not through a check. Hasn't started yet. I'm trying to get information to jive with our bank and our system, so that is moving forward. I'm happy to report that Donna Byrne, our utility clerk, was able to have Union Square Townhomes and Cranberry Lake North Townhomes Association go to paperless billing. So that's between the two, 56 bills. It's better than nothing. So altogether, we have about 136 accounts signed up for paperless billing. I prepared the annual treasurer's report, which is under the business item. That is basically a snapshot of information from the audit, all the revenues that we've received in the fiscal year, all the expenditures, compensation, and the statement of where our funds are at for the beginning of the year and the ending of the year. And then one of the last items I've completed is preliminary tax levy work. Discussed it with Trustee Daly, gave him some figures and that, and he's going to speak further about that in the committee of the whole meeting tonight. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, Kathy Nessler.
Okay. This is our second meeting sending out electronic packets. It's working out well. Out of 14 packets, 9 are electronic and 5 are paper. And 2 of those out of the 5, 2 of those are mine. And Roseanne and I have the system all worked out and everything's going well. Roseanne's been handling building permits since Lake County, since we went with Lake County. And as of 2015, for that year, we had 188 building permits issued. And as of 9/19 this year, we've had 92 building permits issued. Last year we had more due to the tornado. Also in 2015, we had 92 contractors licenses issued. And as of 9/19, we've had 62 contractors licenses issued. And that all goes with the whole building permit application. I received another FOIA this week, asking for 16 years of business licenses that were issued, so that'll be completed this week. We had one solicitor who was out there, and his badge will expire October 12th. He was another renewal. We let the police know that. And then Haynes Cleaners, we have a new business owner, and they're very nice people. They came in and I worked with them on their business license and the fire department and the building inspector regarding their occupancy inspections.
You said it was Haynes Cleaners?
Haynes Cleaners. So as of Monday, they opened as the new business owner, same name.
The other couple retired.
Yeah.
The one that's been there for the last 7 years?
Yeah.
So, and then as of September 15th, the clerk's office has provided courtesy election packets for the April 4th, 2017 consolidated election. The seats that will be on the ballot are mayor and 3 trustee positions, and they're all for 4-year term of office. Last Tuesday, the 20th, was the first day to circulate petitions, and we've had 5 people pick up independent packets so far. And then last meeting, I announced that we have a new website service, and I sent Tim all of our frustrations that we haven't been able to deal with. And
You said Linville law?
what?
You said Linville law?
Frustrations on the
Website.
And he's working on them this week, so we're excited to get that all done. So, and that's it.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the mayor's report. First up, I want to give special thanks to the Round Lake School District 116 that hosted our last village board meeting on September 13th. And not only did they host our board meeting, but we had the honor of touring the business incubator facility, and the instructors gave us an overview of the course and also would like to recruit some people to assist in the program. And Kathy and I realized that we are due some information and we never got the email, so we're going to follow up tomorrow. I know there was a couple of officials that for good reason weren't able to be there that night, and I encourage those officials and any of our residents, if you have any opportunity to go see a sport event or stop in at the high school, it is well worth seeing. The remodeling and the addition and the equipment that has been put in the school is bar none. I mean, it is one of the top in Lake County. The only high school that comes close is Lake Forest, as I understand it. So there's a lot of kids at Grays Lake Central and North that would love to see the kind of equipment they got over there now. So it is very exciting. I think it's wonderful for the area. So please get over there if you can. Couple important announcements. In my years serving as mayor, and I'm coming up on the end of my third term, second consecutive, I have found the most pertinent information to provide for our residents is when trick-or-treating hours are. So they are Sunday, October 30th, from 3:30 to 7 p.m., and we will provide hay rides as usual, and that information will be on the website and also in the upcoming newsletter. Some other exciting news on an economic development standpoint, our mobile gas station, you know, recently has a new owner that has really invested a lot into that station. It's looking really nice, a lot of new equipment, the store is much nicer. Well, yesterday, he closed on the property next door that we all know is the Charlie Green property. So, absent towing will stay there for the time being on their month-to-month lease, but the apartments and residential areas will be vacated shortly, and he will be working to come to the village in the future, not immediately, but doing plans for an expansion, and he's exploring things such as putting in a car wash, diesel pump, and may possibly expand the store. So we're very excited about that, and I ask you all to please shop at the mobile station and support our local business. Another item of note, when the clerk and I did the calendar of the board meetings for the year, next week, October 4th, was scheduled as a board meeting rather than the 11th because Yom Kippur falls on October 11th. However, given the business that we've had, that is next week, and we really see no reason to have a meeting a week from today. So we will be canceling the October 4th meeting, and then we'll still meet the 4th Tuesday. So I don't think anybody's going to complain about that. And I think that is everything. So let's move on to Great H Club and other general announcements. Georgianne, you're up.
The Great H next meeting is next Thursday, the 6th of October. We will be having, I think it's a detective from our police department come and talk about crime prevention for seniors. And also Walgreens will be giving flu shots. So if you haven't attended before, we'd like to see you come. It's 10:30 here at the Village Hall, from 10:30 to usually noon. And then if you'd like to join us, some of us go out for lunch after. Always have a meal attached to most things we do. The other thing that I want to talk about is something that happened today that I'm really excited about. As you know, I am the village representative to BEST, which is bringing everyone's strengths together. And it's a network of organizations for supporting the betterment of the Round Lake area. And what we did was work with the school district, and we invited realtors to come and take a bus tour of the Round Lake area and show them things that they thought they knew about Round Lake, but they really didn't. New things for them to see. We had 13 realtors. We had representatives from Round Lake Beach, from Round Lake. I represented Hainesville. We had people from the school district and the park district and the library district. And we met at the library and then took a school bus, went over to the high school, and they toured the high school, and oohs and ahs everywhere. Then we hopped on the bus and went all around the community for about an hour and a half, showing them highlights of each of the villages, showing them different housing opportunities. And I just want to read you some of the comments that were made at the end of the program. Oh, also they did a tour of the library and a tour of the park district. So we asked the attendees at the end for feedback, and here were some of the things they said. I live in Round Lake and I had no idea all that it offers. have lived in Grays Lake for 25 years, and after today, I believe that this community may have more to offer than my own. For years, clients have been concerned about two things: accessibility to 94 and the schools. Today, we see that only one of these concerns remain, and that's not the schools. And then someone said, when are we going to do this again? So it was very exciting to see maybe the transition from people who were reluctant to consider the Round Lake area to be that enthusiastic about it. And I would recommend that any and all make arrangements through the school district to take a tour. It's amazing. It's certainly different than when I went to school, which was the days of the dinosaurs, but even those that have been there more recently. In fact, Mayor McGillis was there today, and he graduated in the 70s, and he was commenting how much the school has changed since then. So it was a really exciting day. And, and then what we did was we gave coupons to the realtors from a bunch of the different locally owned restaurants, not the chains, but the regular restaurants. They all, that we contacted, gave us discount coupons for them to come and have lunch.
Wonderful.
And many of them picked them up. So it was really
I think it's a
good
neat idea.
day.
Yeah, good, excellent.
If
John, well done.
If I could back up half a step, something you mentioned about the Great Age Club and having the police come in and talk about crime. This is for us seniors as well as a number of other people. Twice in the last week, I've received voice messages on my home phone and on my cell informing me the IRS was going to sue me and arrest me and take everything I had. This, folks, is a scam.
They were here looking for you.
Yeah, I was, shh, don't give away my secret. If you need to check on these items, all you need to do is take the phone number they either called you from or leave you to call back and Google it. It'll come right up and say, this is a scam. So protect yourself. IRS does not make phone calls like that.
Also, we would probably be multi-millionaires if all of the people who've called and offered us millions of dollars if we only paid a small fee of several hundred.
Or thousands.
Or thousands, that we took them up on that scam. So that's another one that is certainly not feasible. Anything that sounds too good to be true usually is.
And I personally like to tell them when I get those phone calls that they have reached the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Illinois office, and please hang up and I'll call you right back.
Please also remember, since more and more people are getting computers in their home, Microsoft will never call you. A lot of people fall for that scam where they say, hi, this is so-and-so from Microsoft, and we see a lot of activity on your computer, and that's because there's supposed to be a lot of activity on your computer. They try to show you something that will look really serious, and they talk you into giving them your credit card number or access, which is worse, access to your computer. And a lot of people lose a lot of money in that way, and because they'll charge up your credit card and then they'll go and install a keylogger, and when you go to check your bank account on your computer because you're nervous, they'll get access to all your bank account information too. So please be very careful. Microsoft will never call you, especially if you have an Apple computer.
I go, your Windows 7 computer, I go, which one am I, 5?
Yeah.
And then usually it goes click.
There's lots of people who fall for it every day, and because they wouldn't keep doing it if they didn't.
Yeah. Okay, so any other general announcements? Okay, let's move on to business. First item up. I feel like we've been giving birth to this project for a decade at least. This is an intergovernmental agreement for sidewalk maintenance, repair, and replacement as it pertains to the IDOT intersection improvement at Route 120 and Hainesville Road. And that project is going to let in November of 2016. So that is the installation of a right-hand turn lane, turning off of 120 onto Hainesville Road, heading north. And so along with this project, there will be a sidewalk installed on the south side of 120 from Prairie View School on up to the intersection. And this will finally also allow the installation of a PACE bus shelter opposite our current shelter. So you will have a safe place. We have wanted a bus shelter there for a long time, and we did not have the room, but more importantly, you need to meet the ADA requirements and have a sidewalk and ADA accessibility to the bus shelter. So, IDOT is going to put in the sidewalk. I attached the letter that shows our proportionate share of the various costs. We had to enter in this agreement with the school district in order for this project to move forward. So that being said, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
George Duberstein. Georgiana.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, and then item 2 is accepting the annual financial report fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgiana Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, final business item is approval of the annual treasurer's report fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016.
So
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgiana Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion for adjournment of the regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Meeting adjourned at 7:14. Does anybody need a 1-minute break, or can we roll right into committee of the whole?
Press on, press on.
I now call to order the committee of the whole meeting, Village of Hainesville, September 27th, 2016, Tuesday at 7:15. Somewhere in here,
Where all my papers now?
okay, roll call.
Mayor Linda Soto.
Still here.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Here.
Georgiana Duberstein. Here. Barrett.
Here.
Hein.
Here.
Daly.
Here.
And George Duberstein.
Here.
Okay, we are still in quorum. Motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I did.
Opposed? Motion for omnibus vote agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Georgiana Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Hein. Daly.
Aye.
And George Duberstein.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, first up is Public Works, Trustee George Duberstein.
Okay, I am in the process of putting together an after-action report for your file on the Civil War reenactment. I'm also waiting for some input from some of the key reenactor players, get an idea of the pros and cons and what we might do differently next year, assuming we do it next year. The event itself was, I thought, very successful. Everybody of visitors that I talked to were really thrilled with it, and wasn't only an opportunity to see some battles and see the encampments, but actually talk to the reenactors who really know their stuff about the history and their particular part that they are reenacting. And so it was a good history lesson for a lot of people to go back and talk to these individuals. Once again, I'd like to thank the police department for their help, Public Works and Jimmy were very helpful, keeping things running smoothly at the event and helping me put up signs and so forth. And my lovely wife, who was out there, not trudging in the snow yet, but out there putting posters out and flyers and stuff. John, I appreciate your taking pictures of, I don't know, have we put them up on the?
Oh yeah, they're all up on the YouTube site.
Can I get some pictures?
I don't have pictures, I have.
I have some pictures which I will be sending you in the next couple of days. That you
Okay.
Yeah, no, I want the pictures too. Please.
Will do.
Yes, and now my family, with Jimmy riding the tractor on the hayride, my family is now convinced that we need a tractor at our house.
Also like to thank some of our seniors, they've included, and some of the folks from the various high school honor societies that helped us with the information booth. And I'll be sending you some names in the next couple of days that we can send some certificates out for community service hours. And just like they start working on the next election right after the current election, we'll be starting to work on next year's program. Sure.
Okay.
Also, WRLR
Oh, yeah.
contacted us and asked that they be able to broadcast live from the reenactment next year.
Yeah, we
You know,
were.
I saw that and I was thinking, okay, so where do we put a radio station though on there and be historically correct?
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Moving in for the North team.
We were very fortunate actually to have, they interviewed myself and two of the key reenactors for an hour. They were only going to give us 20 minutes, but not my portion so much, but the reenactors were very informative and
That was Colonel
interesting.
Steve Frapp, right?
Colonel Steve Fratt and Elaine Miskelly, who was the mayor of the civilians. And so we had a nice hour-long interview with them live on WRLR. And as a result of that, the president of the radio station wanted to now have somebody on site. They weren't able to do it this year because they had a bunch of different commitments that day, but now if we can let them know ahead of time, which we will do, they will have somebody on site.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, wetlands, open spaces, and woodlands, Georgianne.
Yes, the progress report from Native Restoration Services. They are continuing to follow along with the 5-year plan. They've done the 4th stewardship of the conservation easement. They've done the 3rd stewardship of the Cranberry Lake Woodlands. A stewardship of all sites in the 2016 plan. Their 3rd visit is completed, and they mowed the Deer Point meadow, I guess you would call it, and that takes quite a bit of doing because you can't just take the big mower because we have a lot of little shrubs and trees, and so they had to do that part practically by hand. So, and just keep watching there; those things will grow, and you will see some really nice shrubs and trees along 120 at Deer Point.
Georgianne, I was going to contact you, and got my schedule, as you know, got hijacked today, but Kelly printed out a report for me that shows where we're at in the wetland and woodlands, and also the other thing we'll need to get together and talk about, we're mentioning the tax levy, we also need to talk about SSA, so just, you and I need to follow on that.
We'll put it on our list when we
Okay.
get together.
Okay. Announcements, John Darnowski.
So we had a very active week on Facebook and on YouTube. Our couple of things that I put up on YouTube this past month were for Trustee Duberstein's reading program through BEST, and actually reached 62 people,
Cool.
which is a lot for us.
Yeah.
It's an art,
Yeah. And I said they saw it, we actually are now up to 62 people that actually like the Village of Hainesville page, which doesn't sound like much, but for us it's a lot.
62 households. That sounds
62
good.
households. And also, we had 21 people watch the latest board meeting on our YouTube channel.
You think it was because I wasn't here?
I'm not saying, but
I did a CTY call.
but you know, it actually we had quite a few views on that last one. We had some good views on our Civil War reenactment posts. Sadly, Elijah Haynes hasn't had any yet. And surprisingly, the presidential debate between Jefferson Davis and Abraham Lincoln did not get any views yet, but a lot of people loved Mary Todd Lincoln and Jefferson Davis on his own, and he really was. He was a phenomenal reenactor. He was really, really good. And we're actually up an average of 36 views on our page for the month, so for us, that's a lot. And like I said, I'm having a great time seeing
You're here.
what's coming. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I give a commercial on my page?
Sure, go for it.
Didn't I just do that?
Since John mentioned the reading program, we are doing tutoring at the Round Lake Middle School, and it's grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. It involves 90 minutes once a week. It's one-on-one or very small groups, and you're working with either their assignment or reading with them an article out of a magazine. And we certainly could use more tutors